Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today you are joining me with a super, hopefully quick video on 5 of my recent favourite audiobooks. Now when I say recent, I mean within the last 6 months or so. This has been a video that I've wanted to do for a while because I recently discovered how great audiobooks are and I want to share that with you. If you've been hesitant to pick them up before and you don't know which one to start with, here's 5 of those that I think are good. So without further ado, here we go. The first audiobook that I have to talk about is also one of my recent favourites, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I really love this audiobook because for one, the narrator was great. He did all the different accents really cool so you could tell when a different character was speaking. It was very memorable as well as it was entertaining. I think that's what I'm trying to get across here. It was very interesting to listen to on my drive to work. It also wasn't super long by any means, so it didn't feel like you had to slog through the entire audiobook because it wasn't very long at all. I should briefly mention what this book is about as well. In this one, we follow a young man called Monty, as he is about to embark on his European tour before he has to knuckle down and take over the family business / learn the ins and outs of it, something like that. Things don't go to plan along the way throughout this tour. There are highwaymen, there are pirates, there's a little bit of everything in there, as well as a bisexual main character and also a super cute romance chucked in too, which I personally really enjoyed. There's also some epilepsy representation in there too, and I really like the addition of that in the story as well, and how it wasn't about trying to fix someone with that, it was more about trying to help. Now, I will say that the main character, Monty, annoyed me to start off with because he's pretty entitled, but throughout the novel he grows, it's beautiful. So this one was super easy to listen to and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, probably also because of the performance of the narrator. So check it out. Next up we have Sleeping Giants by Sylvia Newville. This audiobook is a bit different to the last one in that there is a full cast and that it is also told through a file type format, which I think really suited the audiobook structure of it. You have this mysterious character, sort of like a Mr. Nobody type, who is pulling the strings, and then you have the crew who is assisting in basically uncovering this giant metal form. So yes, this one is about a science sort of excavation thing and how that pertains to the world around us. The bunch of characters in this felt really well put together and they bounced off each other great. Their problems also felt genuine to their circumstances, and I just really loved how we got a full cast of narrators for this one because it just added to their individual characterization as well. At no point did I feel like this story lulled. It's action-packed from the start to the finish, and it's sci-fi, so there's a little bit of that chucked in there too. I'm very keen to pick up the sequel when I can. I think I want to do it through audiobook again as well, but I also want to buy the physical copies of these books just so that I have them on my shelves. And I want to also see if reading them, I get the same feelings from them because it is that file-like component. This one also, I'm fairly sure, got 4.5 stars, 5 stars, I don't know. The performance was great. The third audiobook on this list is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This is a retelling of the Norse mythology stories, as you could probably tell from the title. With this one, the author himself narrates it, and he just does such a great job of portraying all the different gods and all their different characteristics through his change in voice, and I just really enjoyed it. I also found that I tried to pick up the physical copy of this book and it wasn't holding my interest. I like to say that I love mythology and I have all these different collections on my shelves, but turns out that I never really get around to finishing them. But with Neil Gaiman as the narrator in this one, he just kept my interest. He made it so much more engaging and I loved it. This format also felt like the right way to portray and consume the stories because fairy tales and mythology and legends always used to be in an oral format. That's where they originated from. It wasn't until much later on that people started to actually write them down. And writing them down changed the structure of them, and I know that this has been written down and is printed or whatever, but I liked that I went back to the roots of the more oral nature of it with an audiobook and with the author's amazing performance throughout. So with this one, I definitely preferred the audiobook version, as I've stated. And if you want to learn more about Norse mythology, but like me, you can't seem to get through just reading it visually with your eyes, try it with your ears. Then for a more uplifting tale, and something that I don't usually read, was a biography, and that was The Happiest Refugee by Anh Do. This is a very uplifting, inspiring story of Anh Do's life as he was a refugee on a boat, and then he came to Australia, and the amazing life that he has led and worked hard to create here in Australia. The author also narrates this one, and his performance is also hilarious while also really, really heartwarming, and he just brought a lot to the story, and I'm so glad that I picked up the audiobook for this, because driving to work, listening to this, it just made me feel all sorts, and I can't thank it enough for doing that for me. Again, I want to buy a physical copy of this to have on my shelves. I also think that this book will make a great gift, and I'm just super glad that I read it. I will also say that this one got 5 stars from me. You're probably sensing a theme here, and that's when I enjoy the performance of an audiobook, it gets really highly ranked. And the last book on this list is also the first ever audiobook that I consumed, or one of the first ones, and that is Overton by Isabel Carmody. Now this production was a plus. You have all these different techniques going through where when there's like mind speech and that sort of thing, the audio wavers and like a different tone gets put through it, so it's very clear that something else is happening. You have the author again who narrates it herself and does a fantastic job of all the different accents and all of that, and it really just made it into more of a performance. Like, I have read this book before, so to reread it through this medium added something again to my experience. Now I think that the author goes on to narrate the rest of the series, so all 7 books or whatever of it, and I did start to reread all of them, but I think I stopped my reread via the audiobooks around the 5th book, just because the physical books are about this thick and those audiobooks were going for 20+ hours long, and while they were still highly entertaining, it was a lot. But this first book is short, sharp, and sweet. The author does an amazing job. It gets the story across really, really well. And if you are looking for a post-apocalyptic / high fantasy type story, I always find it really hard to describe this one. Basically, there has been a world event where the world has bombed itself into oblivion, and this is society after that, and everything goes back, more sort of archaic vibes from there. So you have your main character Elspeth, who has abilities which are seen as wrong. She can talk to beasts, she can do all sorts of different things and coerce people as well. There's a whole bunch of powers and abilities that come up in this story, so if you like that element in fantasy, knock yourself out. So there you have it. Those are 5 of my recent favorite audiobooks that I've listened to. I want to try and keep this as an ongoing series on my channel, just because I feel like audiobooks don't get as much recognition as what they deserve, especially with the performances that these narrators put on, and the production of some of them is just amazing. And they're also just so very, very great for drives to work, or when you're doing housework, or when you're going for walks, or whatever. So if nothing else, I hope this video has prompted you to try an audiobook, maybe try one of these. I don't know, it's up to you. So if you're an audiobook listener, comment down below your favorite audiobook. I'm always up for more recommendations. Also, just briefly before I close off this video, if you are looking for free audiobook apps that run through libraries, I use BorrowBox as well as Libby. So those are some really good apps to use if you don't want to fork out X amount to pay for the books. You can actually listen to them for free through your library. So that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!